Hail and Gothendog to the best family on YouTube. Well, that's our opinion here, at least, at Carryorbury. Our wonderful EDC family. I'm your host, Prophet, and with me, as always, is the Professor. And we thank you, but we especially thank you for joining us today for yet another EDC video. Today, we have yet another knife review for you. This, my friends, will be a full review, which means we'll get to play the full Carryorbury game. So, let's do that. It's time for me to show you the flipper. Well, I guess really it's not really the flipper, it's what I was carrying today. I was carrying this guy in my pocket for the day while I was attending school and doing some light work on the compound. This was my little backup chainsaw buddy when I don't have my big ol' Becker BK9 on me. I like to have this in my pocket as well. This is a little Ferrum Forge guy, and it has a super fall shutty action. Let's see if I can get that on that camera here. Oh yeah. It has a super fall shut action, as you can see. Really, really like that fall shutting action. Why are we talking so much about fall shutting actions? That's right, because although this fall shutter was in my pocket today, this was on my mind. The Grimsmo Norseman. Awesome, right? Now, you might say to yourself, Prophet, with your pocket check out of the way, the whole show me the flipper saying is really cool and we love that. You should get some sweaters and some hoodies ready. Yeah, let's calm down. We need you, our EDC family, to tell us which you like better. Do you like show me the flipper or show me your flipper, show me your flipper to do a pocket check? Or would you prefer, in case somebody doesn't have a flipper tab on their knife, show me the metal? Because most pocket knives are going to be made of metal. So show me the metal, show me your metal, show me the flipper, show me your flipper. Those are the 4 options. We would like to hear from you, EDC family. Let us know in the comments which ones you like better for our first run of Carryorbury merchandise. All right, all that stuff out of the way, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about why you probably clicked on the video, because we're looking at some cool knives. And Prophet, what about in the beginning of the video when you said hail and Gothendog? What does that mean? Well, it means hello or greetings and good day. And that is in Old Norse. Old Norse, folks. If you know, you know. It's the land of our Icelandic brothers and sisters, of our Nordic brothers and sisters, of our Norwegian brothers and sisters, of the true Viking Age peoples, if you will. The land and language of the Vikings. Pretty cool, right? Well, but Prophet, why do you use that language? Well, because of this guy here. Whoops, forgive me, folks. We'll get back to that one. Because of this guy here. Let's try that again. Huh? This, my friends, is the Grimsmo Norseman. Cool. So our greeting was in Old Norse. We have a knife in Old Norse. I wonder if we're catching up yet, EDC family. Do we see anything yet? Yeah. The Norseman is actual Old Norse language. Also, it means man of the North. Now, I understand in today's society saying something like man of the North can be extremely, I don't know, it can hurt people's feelings. And just keep in mind that this is actual old language, and it didn't necessarily mean man as in the man of a sex. It meant the peoples of the North, right? They just, back then, that's how they talked. It is what it is. They call them Norsemen. But it was the men, the women, the children, everyone who was from or of the North. So all of our brothers and sisters with Scandinavian blood, I am no linguist. If I've goofed up any of these Old Norse words, which I'm pretty sure I already have, at least I know that the Grimsmo Norseman is a word I didn't screw up on, because I have studied, held, carried, watched their videos for a long time, and I know that's how you say Norseman. So, the Grimsmo Norseman, let's talk a little bit about that today. Who brought this knife into existence? Well, oof, that was a pretty authoritative snap right there. This knife was brought into existence by the Grimsmo family, okay? A family and a company because they named their company after their family name. And now in EDC product form, right? They hail from the north as well, from Canada, north of where we are here in the United States. The Grimsmo Norseman is a product from the Grimsmo Knife Company. Pretty darn cool, huh? So we learned a little something there in the beginning. So let's move on, right? Now, EDC family, if you don't have time to stick around through the next 3 segments and you want to get right to the carrier-bury game, we get it. I mean, Professor tells me all the time, Prophet, all you do is yap, 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 and we don't want to do that for you. So, which is why we are going to give you an escape from the details and the learning and all that jazz. And you're going to go right to the game that we all came for, the review process, the carrier-bury game. If you're new and you don't know how the game is played, please refer to our rules remix, which is our video numbered 20. For those of you who know, you know. Let's jump up and hit the Jeanport, or Yarnport maybe? Yarnport? You know what? Let's just stick to English here. That was my attempt at using Old Norse to say portal. Let's just jump to the Professor's Portal for those of you who are not sticking around. Let's activate. 3, 2, 1. Professor's Portal. That's right, folks. Follow that timestamp, and we'll see you at the game. All right. Now, with those folks having taken the portal safe and on their way to, well, the future, it's time to get our learn on for those of you who stayed, because you all know when we stay, we learn a little bit of knowledge. And remember, knowledge is king around here. So, Professor, load up that knowledge is king icon somewhere for the folks that they can see what's going on. And let's start our knowledge is king. Well, we've got a Grimsmo Norseman on the table. We learned a little bit about what the Norseman meant. Let's talk about the name Grimsmo. Like I said in the opening of this video, it is the last name of Eric and John, and Meg Grimsmo. They are 2 brothers and a wife of one of the brothers who hail from Canada, who have poured their blood, sweat, tears, patience, and love into the brand. Grimsmo knives were born in 2008. And like so many of the knife makers and EDC gurus and geniuses and all of the wonderful greats that we've learned about so far on this channel's short history, this story is very much like many of the greats. It all starts with a dream, right? Well, yeah, but also a loving and a caring partner. That wouldn't hurt, would it? Meg Grimsmo helped John into giving a go at his dreams. With her by his side, he started teaching himself the art of CNC machining in hopes to create a really cool and different knife. Now, CNC machinists, folks, honestly, they're some of the heroes of not just our EDC world, but really all of the worlds, right? Because honestly, without some of their hard work, their knowledge, and their skill, we wouldn't have the advancements that we have in manufacturing today, which is all pretty special if you ask me, right? But every once in a while, you get someone like John with splashes of uniqueness, right, that pepper that into the seldom talked about world of CNC machining. And there's a few people out there. Titan's Machinists, or Titan, is another person who's really done a lot for the CNC world. And John should be in that conversation as well, to be honest with you. So John is one of those splashes. He started vlogging his journey for all of us to see on YouTube. You can find him on YouTube at John Grimsmo. That's JOHN Grimsmo. We'll also have that in our little deal here, okay? So, like I was saying, John is one of those splashes. In fact, if you want to learn even more, you can go to not only their YouTube to watch all of his vlogs, from making the Norseman in his garage, to setting up his machine shop, to perfecting the knives, to seeing drastic changes, which we'll show you in a little bit on the knives, and going on into other things like making pens. This is the Saga by Grimsmo Knives, and this is a fantastic and ingenious EDC pen.
And once you get a Saga, trust
Put the
me,
little guy there.
you're not going back. You'll
Pull
never
back
carry
on the
another
back
pen
there.
again.
And
this thing is awesome.
honestly, I catch myself doing that quite a bit. And they actually have mini ones now that can also extend the size of these, because if you have big hands like mine, every time you play with it, you end up with pen marks everywhere. I digress. Let's put the Saga aside for a second and get back to our knowledge is king. So John started this vlog journey in his garage with used machines and tools, and every week, like clockwork on Tuesdays, he did Knife Making Tuesdays. His entire journey, for the most part, was for us, the future us, and for all of us, right? Did that make any sense? Basically for all of us to see. His mistakes, his triumph, his failures, his ideas. Those vlogs are intimate shares, intimate times where he teaches, intimate times where he vents his frustrations or what he's thinking about, where he asks for advice. It's basically his personal journey that we can travel along with. It's truly something special. Not even just for EDC people or machinists, but for honestly anyone who wants to get inside the mind of someone who is dedicated to a craft. It's an inspiring story. At any rate, a couple years later, John had his brother Eric join him, and then basically the Grimsmo team doubled overnight. 5 years later, they hired their first employee. The whole time they moved from the garage to the shop, to extending the shop, to ordering their machines, watching their products as the world has come to admire as not just EDC tools, but they're also known as very detailed and thought-provoking machinists, and they make excellent machined items made out of exotic materials that a lot of machinists take many years to master. John, Eric, Meg, can't forget Meg, right? The lot of them have grown together right before my eyes, your eyes, and if you go to watch in the future, your eyes as well, right? Their philosophy at Grimsmo Knives is full Grimsmo, full Grimsmo, full Grimsmo. What does full Grimsmo mean? Well, it means hard work, dedication, devotion, family first, attention to details, all from men and women of the North. They boldly have taken the Norse way of hard work and that family first thinking into this century. If you get a chance, check them out. They even have brand new additions to the family of products that are getting closer and closer for us to maybe getting our hands on one day. The new product that I speak of is called the Fjell. The Fjell is an integral titanium flipper button lock. It has just under a 3-inch blade, and honestly, I really want to get my hands on one. I hope we will one day, John, if you're watching this. Okay, at any rate, I think that will conclude our Knowledge is King of the Grimsmo Norseman, right? So let's talk a little bit about Professor's favorite time of the content, the Professor's particulars, which, as you know, if you've watched any of our content, you are going to know that Professor's Particulars talks about, well, the particulars, right? The stats, because Professor is our Dr. Nerd. Not to be confused with Dr. Laren Thomas, who is Dr. Steele of our knife world. Now, during the spec process today, I have a brief comment, and you can maybe take it as a comment or a reminder. I'm going to see if we can get this on camera here. But if you look at the blade on my Norseman, there's a number right there. It's 1399. Every product that Grimsmo puts out is serialized and has a birthday card, which is also really cool. So let us talk a little bit about the specs, right? So the overall blade is about 3.5 inches. The blade edge length is under 3.5 with the curvings, right? You have some substantial wicked curves on this. You have the bane of my existence of sharpening, which is this guy here. And then you have the end, which is kind of that part here. And then you have kind of the reverse Tonto type thing right there. And what you're getting with this is about 3 350 thousandths of usable blade edge length. You have roughly a 5-inch handle, which gives you roughly an 8.5-inch overall length of the knife. The weight is over 5 ounces. You have 5, I wouldn't call it 5 1/4. I think on the site they call it 5 150 thousandths of an ounce. 5.15 ounces basically. The blade thickness is 125 thou, and what's really cool is what I always expect of Grimsmo is, if you can kind of see what I'm seeing, it has a very wonderfully machined curved edge here. By the way, cryogenically treated curved edge of that blade stock. Then you have it flare out a little bit on the edge to give you a little bit more meat if you're going to be making some long cuts. Another little tidbit, John's brother-in-law is actually a dinosaur guy, and I believe they call them paleontologists. If I am wrong, chat, forgive me. But at any rate, his brother has taken his Norseman, one of the first Norsemans, and used that on multiple dinosaur digs, which I always find to be super cool. Okay, anyways, back to talking about the knife. The blade is made of Swedish, right, from Damasteel in Sweden, is made from RWL 34, which is a martensitic stainless steel. And it is a very good one. Who made RWL 34 with crucible? Or, I'm sorry, with Damasteel? I'll tell you who. It was Robert Lovelace. And if you don't know Robert Lovelace, EDC family, you probably won't see one of his knives on my channel. It's because I would have to maybe sell some land in Arkansas to be able to afford that. I digress. You can get other blade options on the current models of the Norseman from 154 CPM, which is USA Crucible steel. You can get CPM MagnaCut, or Doc steel. Dr. Laren Thomas invented that steel of knife steel nerds. And if you want to learn more about RWL 34, CPM 154, or any other steels we talked about, feel free to go to knifesteelnerds.com. Check out Dr. Laren Thomas, and you will learn a lot about steels. They do all of their in-house heat treating and all that good stuff over there to the correct specifications and the ideal EDC specifications for these knives. Whew, that was a lot, EDC family. Thanks for hanging in there. Oh, the big thing here is that over the individually serialized products made by Grimsmo Knives, they only strive for perfection in the machining process. They also want to make as much of the stuff in-house when they can. So everything from CNC machine blade bevels that you see here, they make those. The pivot screw, they make that, right? They even make the Torx TX9 screws on the handles. They make them, they harden them in-house. Then they take what they can't make, like the AEB L stainless steel lock bars, and they specificate them. They treat them there in-house. Or if they're going to get some of the ball bearings from the USA, some of these wonderfully precise bearings that they use in their knives, they can actually flatten and hand polish them for certain portions of the knife. All right, enough of that. We'll talk about all that a little bit later. Professor, if you would be so kind to remove the Professor's Particulars icon and put the Comparisons icon up. Folks, I hope we were able to teach you something about the specs of the knife in question. If you have any other questions, like always, please put them in the comments. If I don't know the answer, I'm sure you might see John or Eric themselves maybe just make an appearance in the comment section. Okay, so let's take a peek at the Grimsmo Norseman numbered 1399, an older version, alongside of some stuff you might know of today, right? Let's take a look at it next to this Spyderco Paramilitary 2 wearing some copper scales. This was a sprint run. I believe the steel in this one is CPM Rex 45. It is. So we've got a American Spyderco knife, a Paramilitary 2, next to the Grimsmo Norseman. Honestly, what's really interesting about these two is they both have an unusual blade look to them. Obviously, the Paramilitary 2 is very widely known, and you can kind of see some differences right off the bat in them. So when comparing them kind of butt to butt, you can see that the Norseman is much slimmer than the Spyderco. You are going to get a lot less of that kind of bulky handle action. The handle on the Norseman is going to be just a tad longer. The blade lengths are about the same. You've got about the same usable cutting angle on both of them, just because you lose a little bit with the Norseman. But as you can see, resembling the two, when we put them inside each other like this, you can see that honestly, other than the unique blade shape of the Norseman, it's not that much bigger than a Spyderco Paramilitary 2. In fact, it's definitely thinner than a Paramilitary 2. Might be a little bit longer, but that's about it. Let's take a peek at this next to another knife you might know. This is the MSI SE model by Microtech. And this is a knife that a lot of you consider to be large. And when paired next to the Norseman, you can see that it is bigger than the Norseman. When we put them handle in handle like that, it actually even comes a little bit taller on both ends. But overall, as you can see, it does categorize in that larger 8.5 total length size that you get with the Norseman. If you are interested, whoops, we've got the Ontario Rat 1 here in D2 steel. Again, to show you kind of a larger style knife that you're going to see in the EDC world, what that looks like. I know a lot of people, when I was on Reddit going through writing the script, a lot of folks out there were talking about that the Grimsmo Norseman was almost cartoonishly big, and honestly, that's just not the case. It really just has a unique blade shape, and that's really what it is. When you look at the actual size of the knife, like I showed you just now, I can literally make the Norseman almost disappear, at least in the handle area, putting the rat above it there. So as you can kind of see, you're getting, you know, just a little bit more of a unique blade shape. Is it harder to sharpen? Oh yeah. But with a little bit of practice and some patience, you can learn how to strop these up and keep them sharp pretty darn quick. They even make some new things by KME that actually do a really good job. And like we always do, maybe not make all that noise. Another comparison, kind of tradition here. The next knife that we're going to do a full review on is, oh my God, the Grimsmo Norseman. I know what you're thinking. You're going to do the same knife again. You'll see when we do the other review. I've already started the script for the later serialized Norseman. It's a big difference. If you can't really tell in the two, let me show you. You have contoured handles on this one. Along with everything on it, it feels like a completely different knife, and I think that's why it's worth to take a different look at what this looks like with some of the more upgrades. When we do the second one, I will take them both apart to show you some of the other features that you're going to see internally on the newer models opposed to the older ones. Perfect. So that's what that looks like. I mean, goodness, we're kind of flying through this, EDC family. Professor, if you would be so kind, let's go ahead and let's scrape that license plate out of here, and let's welcome back the people that we missed, right? Welcome back, our EDC family that has taken our very own Professor's Portal. We're going to give you a moment to collect yourself, but remember, I'm on the clock here as always with the Professor, so just a moment. All right, now, let's start the game and see if the Grimsmo Norseman, well, at least the Norsemans that are numbered, you know, around 1,000 to 1,500, should be on your radar, if we're going to recommend them or not. It's got to pass the game. So, Mr. Norseman, it's time for you to show me the flipper! Or show us the flipper, I don't know. Regardless, you'll let us know, EDC family. That was a need sound if I ever heard one. So let's get into it. The first need on this guy, if you haven't been able to tell, is the action. I mean, honestly, even sideways the thing wants to come close, but the camera behind my back is at not a huge angle, and this thing literally drops like a darn guillotine. In fact, it used to be called the guillotine of knives. I love that. It is just the precision that they make these, the polishings that they do, makes these just absolutely, they're fidget friendly. They come out with authority. They work. Honestly, you can see why this is used by someone who is working with, you know, on architectural dig sites, digging up dinosaur bones. I mean, could you imagine this just plowing through the dirt? No big deal, right? Hey, we found a T-Rex. What'd you find it with? Well, the Norseman, of course. That's just kind of what I like to think about. All right, folks, need number 2. As you can see, we're on our second need here. We're going to call it machining details and excellence. You know, I get it. This doesn't even sound like a need. It sounds more like, I don't know, maybe a CNC machining course for you to get your doctoral, right? The truth is, the reason, right, while John, Eric, and the crew continue to grow, is they really try. Try or do? They do. They do source the best machines. They do source the best materials. They do train themselves to code those machines to be so accurate that they have to stop looking at issues with their eyes. They have to use a loop. I've seen John use microscopes to see if the part meets his code of excellence, right? Whether you look at their chamfering, their weight reduction, their fit and finish, their machine lines, right? On the prominent and proud portion of the Norseman blade, you can see all through it. I mean, just absolutely iconic look. A lot of places actually have tried to mimic this look, to be honest with you. So machining details and excellence, that's number 2, and that's a no-brainer. Third, we're gonna go with full Grimsmo. Listen, the Norsemen, or men of the North, right? The code that they bring to their company, their family, their life, their friendships, they're all as true as the day that they were made, right? As true as the way to the journey to the West was by their ancestors. With the whole world all over the place with morals and ethics, it is absolutely abundantly clear that these are good people, right? And they're super nice, and they love to see their people stick around, whether it be their employees, their friends, the fans that end up loving their products. The full Grimsmo way really doesn't fail for them, right? It brings their hard work and their family first ethics into play, sure. But I can't applaud that any more than I can, right? They even take laser engraved cases that you get with your purchase of their products, right? Or wood. And as you can see, they laser engrave not only a little spot for the knife, okay, but you get a little tool, you get your oil, you know, you get all kinds of wonderful things, because it's not just about buying something from them. That's cool, but full Grimsmo means get your hands dirty, EDC family. John and Eric have given you the tools to actually work on and care for your purchases. It's the way it should always be, right? Oil it, tear it down, clean it, take care of it yourself. Why? Because a knife like this, honestly, if you treat it the full Grimsmo way, will get passed down to your children and their children. Just the way it is. And like I was saying, even the case on the Saga here, and I know we're not reviewing the Saga here, but again, you get your little refill there in there, and look at all that engraving. Honestly, these guys really try to figure it out. Full Grimsmo is this. This is what full Grimsmo is. And when you pick up one of their products, even an older one, like number 1399 here, you can see what goes into and where full Grimsmo goes. Enough. Yes, I get it, Professor. That's number 4. Make it better. I don't mean them make it better, right? But they will make it better. What in the heck does that mean, and how is that a need? Well, let's talk. If a part can't be made in-house by the Grimsmos, you will find them enhancing the best and available materials and parts out there to make them even better. Let's go back to when we were doing Professor's Particulars. We talked very briefly about the detent bearings, right? So they're sourced, right, in the USA, I believe, and basically they're 1/16 green ultra precision grade 3 bearings. That's pretty much the best you can get, right? Well, not for the Grimsmos. Not when you're going full Grimsmo, right? I mean, you don't want your blade not to fall shut. I mean, if it's hitting a ball every time, yes, we put in a detent ramp. Yes, we've tried to do some things to make it better, but this is something that was explained to me by John Grimsmo a long time ago, and I'm really excited to share it with you right now. With those bearings that they can't make in the shop, they buy them, they get them delivered, they then flatten them and polish them. So what does that mean? So think about, and I know that I'm the worst person to do this, but think about fingernails. At home, take your fingernails and glide them across something. Do that. Yeah, it works, you know. Your fingernails are round like a ball, right? So imagine that's the ball. Yeah, that's going to move, right? But now take the palm of your hand and slide it in that same area. That is what I'm talking about. They make it better. They make everything better. They explain it so well. You can even find things in their YouTube vlogs that no company would give away their secret so easily. It's not about that to these guys. That's why number 4 was make it better. Okay, awesome. So, wow, we really run through our 4 pockets on our full game pretty quickly. Well, a lot of that's because I've got probably a noose around my neck that on one hand is tied to my neck, on the other hand is tied to Professor's hand. And whenever I start doing too much of this, I get a little bit of this, right? That's fine, no big deal. Let's do a quick recap, folks. Our needs again, what were they? Number 1 was action. Easy, number 1. Number 2, machining excellence. Can't go wrong. Number 3, we learned that full Grimsmo is a way of life for EDC and for hard work. Number 4, if they can't make it, they'll make it better. I mean, honestly, EDC family, look at the tiny little dots that they make inside the torques that they put together there. Let's see if we can show you that. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, they've got to write that code. They've got to have the machine do it to where it's not an issue. I mean, this stuff takes time. In order to pay this close attention to detail, it takes time. Anyways, that was 4. So, well, Prophet, every time you bring one of your own knives out, you're always trying to search for nails. Yeah, I get it. But if you're having trouble following along, remember, our Rules Remix video, number 20, will walk you through the whole process. Now, that, my friends, is a nail noise. All right, lack of options. What does that mean? Okay, if you love knives, you know that options are always something that gives us that excitement that just really cannot always be easy to contain. In the world of the Grimsmo Norsemans, you will find that you will see Norsemans, even early Norsemans, that have things like inlays, okay? An inlay is when you cut out an area of the titanium or the steel, and then you put in another exotic material. In this case, on this Ferrum Forge knife, you see they use carbon fiber. That is an inlay on what we call the show side. Now, don't get me wrong, you can go to Grimsmo and you can get a choice of different patterns that they'll put into the handles back here too, but you will also find they've done inlays. And even though I love this Ferrum Forge knife, this is a $300, $400 knife at the time that I purchased it, the inlay is not perfect. The inlays that I've seen on John's stuff, oh man, I can see why they don't do a ton of them. But then also, what about Norsemans that have Damasteel? Oh yeah, they're out there. And all kinds of other options that they've done. Now, every once in a while, they'll make, when they hit a 0-0 on a knife, like number 1000 or whatever, they'll do a super special one. And that's really cool, and I get that, and I'm not going to complain about those ones. But even there's some out there that I would like to see a little bit more of an option when it comes to, if I'm going to build my Norseman, I want Damasteel. And John's actually talked a little bit about that lately. Hopefully that's something they're going to start ramping up a little bit more, especially with the Fjell on their way. But we all know that excitement can turn into frustration when you see people out there with their Norseman with inlays and Damasteel. Obviously, those go for a lot more than retail. But the difference between someone who has owned it for some time and knows its worth and a knife pirate that gets their hands on it and sells it to the highest bidder just to make a quick buck, that is not the Grimsmo way. But unfortunately, that's Grimsmo Norseman history so far. Nail number 2, yes, there's a second one. The blade to weight ratio. And if you know me, you knew this one was coming. This is over a 5-ounce knife for a 3.5-inch blade with 3 350 thousandths of a cutting area on the blade. To me, it's too heavy. Although the knife itself feels very robust, right? And it's very well made and very well machined, the blade itself with its odd shape is probably where a lot of that's coming from. So you actually don't get a terrible balance line. The Grimsmo Norseman is not an unbalanced knife by any means compared to what we've seen on the channel, but it is still a little bit heavy in the backside here. I would love to see a little bit more cutout on the inside. They've definitely got the means to do it. You know, a few cross cutouts in there, shave down some of that titanium, get that balance point a little bit more closer to that pivot. I would bet you're looking at 4.25 to 4.5 ounces after you do that. And you get a 3.5-inch blade that is 4.5 ounces, but is completely balanced. That's a whole different story. All right, number 3. This one was the one that I get a lot of stuff for on the channel. So I started, as you know, I start looking at blade forums, I start looking at Reddit to try to learn a little bit more about what other people think about the negatives and the positives of the stuff that we're reviewing, to kind of put it in perspective. Because as you've noticed on our channel, you know, for me to buy a $1,000 knife or $4,000 knife, sometimes it just is what it is. It's for content, it's a business expense, and I've got a problem. But for people that haven't really went over that number, you know, and everyone has their own. Some people it's $100, some people it's $300, but there's always a number where someone goes over it and it kind of starts shrinking a little bit in their mindset. I'm definitely past that. So to buy a knife that's between $700 used and up, a new one for $1,000 up, right? You are definitely in a higher price point, obviously. Now, I don't share the sentiment on the Norseman because I know what goes into it and all that good stuff, and I'm no stranger to buying knives in this area, but overwhelmingly, there is a lot of complaints on that. I really think that when they start offering those other options like inlays and things like Damasteel, if those prices don't explode even more into the $2,000–$3,000 range, just for, you know, using a little different steel and taking some time to, you know, ferrochloride etch it, I don't know. Obviously, it'll be worth more, but how much more would it be worth? We'll have to watch. We'll have to see what they do with the pricing on the Fjell. I'm looking forward to taking a peek at that. All right, the 4th nail. What could it be if they're... Oh, yep, there it is. Folks, counterfeits. There are numerous Norseman counterfeits out there. In fact, when I bought this, my very first Norseman, which is the one that you see right now, I literally emailed John Grimsmo with pictures of it to see if it was authentic. This means you should really be aware of what you are buying. Seriously. If you have not seen one of these up front, I ask you to zoom in on the pictures. Take a very close look at the details. A true Grimsmo product will look and feel miles ahead from the fakes that I've seen. It's not even close. But they're out there, and it's definitely something where a lot of people have shown things on Reddit or Blade forums, and they've got a fake Norseman, and they're saying there's no way this knife is worth what it should be worth. Well, the knife that you're holding in your hand isn't authentic. So that is a big issue with these. So be very careful when you are shopping. Always good to look out for yourself and your pocketbook. Wow, I'm getting the little light that says that we hit 4. So 4 and 4, that's a tie. Let's do a brief recap, slowly, right, for the needs and nails, and then we will get on with our recommendation for all of you wonderful folks out there. Once again, the needs were the action, the machining excellence, right? The full Grimsmo way of dedication, hard work, making things even nicer. And if you can't make it better, right? Those were our 4 needs. Now our 4 nails. Lack of options when it comes to putting together a super expensive knife. At least, especially in the older versions when you know that they were out there. Then the blade to weight ratio, we feel strongly that could be a little bit more centered on balanced. Third, the price. They are not something to consider lightly when you're purchasing. Also, number 4, counterfeits, which then brings to knife pirates and all that fun stuff. So that's been 4, right? And I've been told by both Professor and by folks in chat that I tend to keep things jabber, 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 jabber. So let's not do that today, right? So without further ado, the results are for the carryorbury Norseman. Wait, well, hold on, actually. We didn't do a granny thing today, right? My granny would be super upset if we didn't do a granny joke. Hey, folks that are upset right now and throwing things at the chat, this is all for entertainment. It's all good, right? So, you know, Granny and you, if I didn't do the granny thing, I wouldn't hear the end of it. So, speaking of Old Norse and speaking of the Norseman, I was talking to Granny about this knife, right? Just the other day. And she says to me, Prophet, dear, did I ever tell you why the Vikings didn't keep their boats too long? Now, normally with Granny's sayings, they're very weird and awkward, but this one was kind of more like a dad joke. So I said, well, no, Granny, why? I'm not really sure. Well, my dear, even when they were new, they were always for sale. Get it? Sale? S-A-I-L? Oh, I love it. Well, Granny then threw her normal stuff out there after the dad joke. And as I was laughing, she said, well, you know, Norse code is obviously something that helped them as well. And I'm like, well, Granny, you mean Morse code? She's like, why would I want more of it? I can't even understand the little bit of it that's out there. Oh, I love Granny. All right, for real now, folks. Man, every time I try to build suspense, Prophet does some crazy over-the-shoulder deal and just kind of averts from finishing. I'm not going to do that today. In spite of what I normally do for all of you, we're just going to get to it. We're going to carry this knife. What is the fifth need? It's human service. But Prophet, you mean customer service, right? No. I mean human or humanitarian service. I'm going to let that sink in. The Grimsmos have given us such a detailed and in-depth and secretive look into their lives, their business, their ideas. It's hard to really say that they don't have that heart, right? They love their customers. They love their fans. They strive to be the best. I'm not just saying that. But I did reach out to John again, like I said earlier, after buying this knife, number 1399. I took it apart. I emailed him. I said, hey, is this authentic? Because I'm seeing fakes out there. And he got back to me, right? But didn't just get back to me like a normal person. He didn't just email me and say, yep, everything looks good. Or have a customer service person say, you can't try to get a hold of John. No. He responded in the most kindest, most beautiful thing ever. I was watching his videos. I was a subscriber, have been for many years. Even this channel subscribes to John Grimsmo now. At any rate, I digress. He sent me a personal YouTube video saying hello and congratulating me on buying this knife, giving me some information on it, on everything from the bearing thing I talked about. Honestly, it was the number one customer service experience that I've had in all of my years buying knives. Honestly, other than Winterblade, those two are very close to the top, if not the peak of the mountain. And was he mad that I bought this on eBay instead of buying one from him? No, not at all. He congratulated me on owning it. He's so proud of what he puts out in the world. He doesn't worry about what's going to happen next because he knows that if he keeps doing the right thing, good things will follow for him and his team. John, Eric, Meg, the whole group, everyone that works Grimsmo, everyone that lives full Grimsmo, guys, I'm telling you right now, you're missing out if you don't check them out. We'll have John's Instagram, we'll have his YouTube, all in the description area here. And there you have it, EDC family. So this knife, obviously, like I just said, it is recommended. Remember, this is an earlier version of the Grimsmo Norseman. And to show you that, we are going to take John's little thing apart here. And I'm going to put the card here. And oh, another note, for those of you that might have noticed, I did switch out the thumb stud on my 1399. To a Damascus one. I did switch out my thumb stud. You heard Chaos in the background. He didn't like that talk. I did switch out my thumb stud on the 1399 to a Damascus thumb stud, but I do have the original still. This is the Born On card that you get with the knives, signed by John and Eric. This knife was made in 2018, so when I said 10 years ago, forgive me, it wasn't 10 years ago. So I must have bought this knife in maybe late 2018, early 2019, something like that. So, man, my math is terrible. 5 or 6 years ago. Still, long time ago, right? Long time ago. Anyways, we also get a sticker that you get when you buy something from the Grimsmos. I'm going to go ahead and put all this away. I always keep the original thumb stud in the bottom here so I won't lose it. And we'll just put all that in there. And we are going to put the Norseman in here for now. There we go. Obviously, we're not going to be using the coffin today, so we can shut that guy, right? Let's go ahead and close the coffin. The Grimsmo Norseman will not be buried. Just quick disclosure, the Norseman was purchased by me, third party on eBay, around 2018, 2019. No vendors or retailers have given us any help financially in acquiring or using this knife. All of the comments and opinions are of our own here at Carrier Bury. Furthermore, the knife that we reviewed today and all others that we have had or will have on our channel are used on our own property. These are tools, they are not weapons or items that you should play with without knowing the consequences of bodily harm or potential legal issues that can and will, if you're not careful, arise from carrying or even purchasing an item. If you're under 18, remember, always get your guardian's permission. It's actually even better for them to do the purchase and make sure that you're safe around it. So, with that being said, remember, we're YouTubers, we're not lawyers. You should never get legal advice from us, or anyone for that matter that isn't a professional. But seriously, please look into and know about your local knife laws. If you're not sure how, we'll help you. It doesn't hurt to visit, and if at all possible, support atki.org. That's the American Knife and Tool Institute. And they are actually on the front lines helping us keep our freedoms and our rights. And you can learn a lot about your area about knife laws. Now remember, EDC family, as long as your hands and fingers aren't stuck in wax, ice cream, if in my case, or in carbonite, you should be able to easily find us online. Then you, our wonderful EDC family, can help us grow. Remember, we are not social media experts. We were trying to get better, and we still are. Perhaps we can, with your help. So please feel free to lovingly click that search bar at your favorite social media app or website and proceed to type in the word carry or bury, all one word. We would love to see what's in your pocket, which we are now calling Show Me the Flipper. Again, you folks will help us decide what's going to go on the first order of Carrier Bury merchandise. We do have lanyards. We do have our wonderful microfiber towels. We have stickers around here somewhere, business cards. If you'd like some, we will send them to you. We won't even ask for any money. Obviously, there will come a point when we can't do that, but for now, we are still keeping that open. Another thing, folks, don't forget to carry us with you by clicking that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications. It also really helps if you hammer that like button for us. It's going to help us grow, right? Then we'll be able to give you more content. Now, with your help, we will be the most prepared family on YouTube and beyond. The one and only EDC family. All right, until next time, EDC family, keep those blades sharp. Keep those flashlights charged. Right? And if you're like me, keep those Band-Aids very close. Remember, you are the best tool in your daily EDC loadout. May God bless you. We will see you next time